Okay. Remember Jackie Chan Adventures? I ain't watched this in so long. Oh my gosh. By Jordan Fringe. Alright.
Remember Jackie Chan Adventures? Growing up, Jackie Chan movies were a huge deal for me, sparking my interest in discovering more and more media outside of the US. Between him and stuff like Godzilla, my world was expanded greatly, and for that, I am forever grateful. His popularity that transitioned over to the US became something else. His stunt work was legendary, his movies had style to them, and he could sing? Alright, so how do we get to the topic of today's video, Jackie Chan Adventures? Well, let's take a look into that as well as the show itself. I feel outside of my memories of watching the show, Jackie Chan Adventures probably does scratch some memory itch for some of you out there as well. If you've been watching my channel for the last few years, you know that I actually made a video on Jackie Chan Adventures like literally 3 years ago. But thanks to two reasons, that video, it doesn't exist anymore. The first reason is that I felt that I can make a way better video than the one I made back then, and I have wanted to do this for a while now, and two, this. Thanks, corporate entity. Appreciate you claiming transformative work and fighting me on it. Anyway, pettiness aside, let's try this again, shall we? Actually, pettiness not aside. Hi, even further future me talking to you through this video that I've already had to redo and remake multiple times now. Now, 1 year after this happened and now everything has been resolved, it's not resolved again apparently, and the other video is gone. So here we are again.
My
Maybe
boy
this is gonna become a yearly tradition where it goes down, but then it goes back up, then it goes down, then it goes back up. Either way, I appreciate you watching, and let's just move on.
My boy fighting for his life.
Original video, then ignore everything and just enjoy this video. Thank you. If you already watched the old video from all those years ago, then great. This is now a completely different video from that one. Now, we can't get into Jackie Chan Adventures without talking about Jackie Chan and who he was leading up to the show. I know in recent years there was a lot out there about him and his family stuff and country stuff, and I'm sure way more, but I am not here to dig into the whole personal life of the guy himself. I just want to talk about the core childhood memory that is this show and what it was like watching it at the time, and beyond that, watching it now. Leading up to the year 2000, Jackie Chan was known for blending the worlds of action, insane stunts, and comedy to make so many memorable and iconic moments in live action
kicking it, that's don't look good. I can feel that.
How could the same style and flair be taken from the third dimension and transformed into the second dimension? Sony Pictures Television, the big old meanies who denied you the right after 3 years to watch the original video, and then just, you know, did so again. I'm getting really tired of this. We're trying to come up with some new show ideas in the year 2000. They needed something new, something fresh, something that was filled with action and adventure, and of course, most importantly, the potential to have a highly successful toy line. We can look to this person right here, Andy Kaplan, the then VP of Sony Pictures Television, who saw all the hubbub about the film Rush Hour, the live-action buddy cop movie starring Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. So Andy realized something deeper than just that. He saw that there is this whole growing in popularity market for Jackie Chan and his stardom in the US market. And when seeing his career portfolio, all the stuff he has already done, the specific style he brings to his projects, Andy knew there was something that can be done that was centered around this person. Andy then reaches out to Sander Schwartz, the head of family entertainment for Sony, and said, excuse me for paraphrasing here, hey, Jackie Chan, but like in cartoon form. And from there, the idea behind Jackie Chan Adventures was born. Jackie Chan's martial arts skills are going to be at the forefront of this. The plan is to take what we see in his movies that already feel fantastical and put them into a bit more of a fantastical setting. The thing in real life, though, is that Jackie Chan really is doing all of this crazy stuff. Seriously, if you've never seen the long list of ridiculous stunts that he has done himself, you should go watch and be amazed by it all. Heck, it makes me want to get in shape just in case I ever need to perform a stunt like this. And that's why I drink gamer subs. Look, I had to redo the video. Cut me a break, okay? The same way I'm cutting you always having my Adventures, a series, and speaking of things we should get back to. But now let's fully get into Jackie Chan Adventures.
I get myself
a series that would
C.
take who Jackie Chan was at that time in the public eye, this funny, incredible martial arts performer, and fictionalize him up a bit to fit into the world of a fun cartoon, making his character an archaeologist and later on special agent, as he gets to travel the world to fight the forces of the supernatural with his skills alone. And
I was used to wonder why they make Jackie Chan so tall, like he ain't short as hell in real life. This had to be how would I say, a fantasy version of himself, because ain't no way.
some other forces and allies that help out too. But no matter how big or small, he gets stuck having to deal with all of the unbelievable stuff that comes his way. He is a character in the show that needs to just accept the reality of magical abilities and forces being real, while most of the world would feel the same as he once did, thinking that they are nothing more than fairy tales, being ignorant to them actually being around. Once he finds this thing called a talisman, and no, we are not talking about Spyro 2
Nigga,
over here.
480p is crazy.
Even though I kind of wish we were. It's like my third time talking about Jackie Chan just to have one video up about it. Man, who remembers when I made
blurry as
Spyro
hell.
content? Those were the days. I mean, they were days, I guess. Maybe I just missed playing Spyro. I'm gonna go play Spyro. The whole setup for where the show takes us opens up, introducing an underground criminal organization who is after the talismans for their mystical powers that they have. While we get to explore all the different layers of everything mythical and mystical, the main lore infused into the show here is pulled directly from Chinese mythology, while also including and expanding this concept from other regions' folklore to give the show something really fun to dig into. I love when shows do this because it led me at those times to really get into the history of where these tales, stories, and ideals all came from that influenced the show. Like, take Yu-Gi-Oh! For example. My love for Egyptian mythology directly correlates with my love for that show, how it introduced those concepts and what it explored with them. When media like this can introduce and possibly influence the interests you want to explore, I think it's great, especially when it hits you at an age where you're in a constant state of learning and wanting to know more. So for that reason alone, Jackie Chan Adventures had my attention from the start. Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, one of Jackie Chan Adventures' main villains, Valmont, the leader in charge of the crime organization The Dark Hand, is out here looking like Pegasus. Sorry, I just had to mention it. I can never unsee it. The show itself is written and presented as an adventure. There is a through-line narrative going on, so with each episode, the story continues on, giving us more lore to uncover, more daring adventures to go on, and getting to explore a bunch of fun locations around the world. But before we look into the plots and where the show goes, let's look further into the characters, and by doing so, kind of go through bits of the first episode to get a clear picture of it all, like Jackie Chan himself in the show. Like I said, he's an archaeologist at first, and the way he carries himself is in a more timid and more cautious manner. He's not out there looking for trouble, he doesn't want to get into confrontation, but naturally, with how it all goes, he is forced into this world where his martial arts skills are put to the test on a constant basis. Despite being
powers. I don't remember
he's
that.
shown right away being a guide through a tomb to get a lost treasure, where we then get to see how good his martial arts abilities are, as they are being used to save himself from a bunch of traps that the others with him set off and escape in one piece. But even if he is just this guide here, his unique skills have caught the eyes of both the characters of Captain Black, a secret agent for the secret agency known as Section 13, as well as Valmont, who I mentioned is the leader of the bad guy group, the Dark Hand. We can get more into all of that shortly, but we see in Jackie's life that when it comes to finding certain artifacts, he helps a university understand them and translate whatever needs to be translated, as he lives with his uncle at his antique shop in San Francisco. His life is going to get flipped upside down constantly here as we get introduced to another main character of the show, Jade, Jackie's niece, who is presented by Jackie's uncle to him, as he is now responsible for looking after her for the next however long.
WB Kids.
Jade is 12 years old and sent to live with Jackie in America after she was doing poorly in school there, and her parents thought she would be able to do better in America. She's very much the bigger-than-her-britches type when it comes to getting involved in all of the adventures Jackie is going to start going on. Whether Jackie likes it or not, which he doesn't most times, Jade is coming along and is constantly involved in whatever is going on. When we first meet her, she's pretty over it all, you know, everything's a drag. She doesn't want to be here, and there's nothing that Jackie can do to have a proper conversation with her. Luckily, this all changes pretty quickly on thanks to how the plot continues in the first episode, with these three sketchy-looking dudes, who I will mention later on, come walking into the store looking to buy the same shield that Jackie had just secured. He susses them out and can tell that these people are pretty shady, but lets them know that the shield has already been donated to the university and isn't for sale, making them mad, naturally. They begin to start knocking over some very breakable antiques that then Jackie goes and quickly blows their minds with, as he effortlessly rolls around and flips about the place to save them all and act like what he did was normal. Regardless, they make their point that it would be in his and his family's best interest to somehow undonate the shield in 24 hours so that these guys can have it, leaving Jackie and Jade both experiencing the threat of whoever these people are, or who they're working for. Jackie, though, goes all Assassin's Creed and starts tailing them as they leave, parkouring up to the roofs of the buildings until he ends up comedically crashing onto their car and starting a real conflict with these people. Jackie shows off his playful, defensive fighting style while being a bit of a goofball, but these guys aren't playing around, pulling out some electric swords, leading to Jackie having to use the tools of his environment around him to fend them off, like windshield wipers and various playground equipment before they've had enough and run away. But this is where the plot really gets going, as Jade is shown to have followed and have witnessed this whole thing, being in a state of shock. But before any of that is explored, that Captain Blackfella shows up and
this nigga's supposed to die. He launched straight on his neck. He's supposed to die. He ain't supposed to be alive after that. There's no way you survive landing on your neck from that height. Jackie Chan just murdered a man.
Blackfella shows up and sprays Jackie with a mist that makes him go unconscious. After he starts waking back up, he recognizes Captain Black, as they have known each other for quite some time, as Jackie gets the surprise of being brought to the secret headquarters of Captain Black's operation as he runs Section 13. Once he brings the shield up to Jackie, he learns about the others who are after it as well, giving Jackie a bit of a rundown on why everybody is after it and who the bad guys who came into his uncle's shop work under, that being the Dark Hand. We then cut over to them as we see Valmont learning of his henchmen, here being the three that we saw earlier, Finn, Ratso, and Chow, all being defeated by Jackie, as we also meet Toru, who will become more and more important as the show goes on, as well as we meet Shendu, who currently is this talking dragon or serpent-like statue with a number of empty slots where certain items may need to be placed. Now that the more important members of the group are all established, we get to see what would be considered enemy fodder, the nameless, faceless bad guys who just get sent out to fight and only serve that purpose, at least for now, as they are known as the Shadowkan. They are spirit ninjas that form in from the shadows to aid in the bad guy's plans. As the bad guy plot is getting set up, Jackie gets asked to aid in Section 13's research into these specific artifacts, as this then gets interrupted by Jade, who tailed where Jackie was taken and tries breaking him out before realizing that these are the good guys. She actually ends up talking here, surprising Jackie, but even more so, this whole thing is a huge surprise for Jade, thinking all of this is so cool and that America is going to be awesome now. Uncle then gives a call, giving Jackie no breaks from so much information coming his way, as Uncle explains that the symbols on the shield wield some sort of magical aura to them, but the shield itself isn't important, confusing Jackie. But before Uncle could explain further, he is taken by Toru, who tells Jackie to come alone with the shield to get his uncle back. Of course, he does have help looking for where the shield is, because Jade didn't listen to Jackie's request of her staying with Captain Black or just going off to her room, but to be fair, she's the one who finds the shield. She really wants to be part of whatever is going on, being hooked on the excitement of it all and what that brings, while Jackie is just having a bad day full of fights, being chased, getting knocked out, getting info dumped on, tangled up in a fight against organized crime, getting his uncle kidnapped, and now, apparently, there's magic involved. You can add dealing with Jade to that list as well, as we get the most iconic line from her that ever since I saw it as a kid has been stuck in my brain. She still follows Jackie to the secret location he has to go to get his uncle back, as he tells her to stay put and not follow him in, as she says, "Scout's honor," waiting for Jackie to leave before she mutters to herself,
"Her head big
like
as hell."
Scout. And I remember having a whole phase of making that a joke when I'd say I'd do something. Was it cringy for me to do that? Yes. Would I still do it today? Also yes. But I will spare all of you. I won't do it in this video. Scout's honor. Like I'm a scout. But literally right away when Jackie goes to confront Toru on the roof, Jade follows him and he has her help rescue his uncle when Jackie distracts Toru. So I guess it's a good thing she was there after all. But we do get into this really fun fight scene where Jackie has to face the Shadowkan, defensively dealing with them on the roof of the building as his uncle and Jade make their way to the road below to catch the shield after Jackie tosses it down to them when he's cornered. But then Toru shows up to them and takes the shield, leaving the area with the Shadowkan following suit, seeming like whatever mission this was is now considered a failure. Captain Black comes back to see if Jackie will join them, as well as apologizes for getting his family involved. But overall, Jackie's just kind of upset at the shield being taken. But luckily, Uncle says that the shield isn't important, but it's what was in the middle of the shield that was, and that would be the talisman, this apparent magical emblem that will become the main thing we worry about from this point on. Jade then reveals she ended up yanking the talisman off the shield before it was taken away, feeling pretty cocky about her accomplishment, and that's no pun intended because there is a rooster on the talisman. Yeah, so this is what was important here, as when Toru returns to Valmont and Shendu, they are instantly disappointed that the talisman is missing. We also get a one more thing from Uncle at the end, and that's his character's signature catchphrase. Well, it's not really a catchphrase, but rather something he just says because everyone always tries to end the conversation before he can finish saying everything he needs to say most times, or he's just trolling them a bit, but he adds on at the end that the symbol on the talisman is the rooster from the Chinese zodiac, explaining then that there are 11 more talismans that go along with it. Captain Black then understands that the Dark Hand will certainly be after the other ones as well, as Jade
Captain
says
Black
that
needs some
Jackie is in
skincare
for helping Captain Black in Section 13
His
in
eyes
the effort
cracking
to
like
track
that.
them down and stop the Dark Hand from getting their hands on them. Jackie just smiles and goes along with it, knowing that Jade is going to be quite a handful to watch over and is now going to be tangled into all of this secret organization business. But to be fair, she did really save the day here multiple times, finding the shield, rescuing Uncle, saving the talisman. I mean, that's a pretty good resume for being Jackie's sidekick in all of this.
Jackie Chan Adventures jumps in first at 3.
Yeah, I missed them all.
At the end of an episode, though,
Oh my
we do
gosh,
get
that
something
hit
a
me
bit
with some
extra
nostalgia
as well,
just now.
and that's a special
All
live-action
commercials.
segment with Jackie Chan where we would meet up with him while he's practicing his martial arts, with a viewer of the show asking him a question that he would then directly respond to. These moments would be in relation to him as a person, as well as certain specific things in the show that can relate back to Chinese history, culture, and philosophy. Or he could just do some rad martial arts or stunts. This was a cool way to introduce the real Jackie Chan to younger audiences, giving them a way to understand and see and learn about the man behind the cartoon character here. Aside from seeing his live-action self turn into his cartoon self in the intro, it was these ending moments where you really got to connect with Jackie, learn more about the lore within the show, and maybe even get a push to see more of his other work. Now, Jackie Chan was clearly a big part of the production.
Looking at this right now, you know what this remind me of? That one Jet Li game for PS2 where you have to use the joystick to I forgot what its name, man. You have to use the joystick to attack. Yep, boy, that was a goated game, though. I missed that. I gotta remember what the name is for that.
Here, right? He appears in live action, his name is 2 out of the 3 words in the title, and he was, of course, an executive producer for it. But what he didn't do was voice his cartoon self. No, in fact, James C. would go on to be Jackie's animated voice. There are a few reasons that may explain why Jackie didn't end up voicing himself in the show, but James would be known as a Jackie Chan impersonator, which isn't solely fair to just classify him as that based on a long list of roles that he has had throughout his career, but James would go on to voice Jackie Chan's role of Master Monkey in the Kung Fu Panda series when it came to the Legends of Awesome TV show and the video games. I love that for people who don't know that Jackie didn't voice himself and then they find out, they usually have a reaction that leaves them in disbelief, because until having easier and easier access to information like that to learn, the average fan of the show would never know, unless you watch the credits. But come on, most times on kids networks the show's credits would shrink to a small corner of the 4:3 aspect ratio, while some ad bumper for the network
supposed to see that, and which ad reading the credits
to take your attention away from it. But the series does a really good job at keeping your attention beyond just watching for the fun action, as the stories or adventures themselves are a lot of fun with plot lines and lore that really shine bright here. The main thing we start off dealing with in the series are the talismans, to which we know that there are 12 of them, as they each resemble an animal from the Chinese zodiac. The Dark Hand is after them mainly for the power of Shendu, who, if you recall, had all of these slots for items across the statue. If Shendu is reunited with all of the talismans, it will set him free from the stone prison he is in. Now, let's hope that never happens, right? Either way, the talismans have these magical abilities. It's what episode 1 was teasing the entire time, and come episode 2, Jade ends up showing everyone that these abilities are real after accidentally inhaling it. So when the Dark Hand want to get the talisman, threatening her life, we see that she gets the use of levitation and telekinesis. So throughout the first season and a few episodes of the second season that technically came out after the big event at the end of season 1, but technically take place before it, the hunt to get the talismans is on, as we get to see adventures all around the world, seeing the different powers that they have in action. Some of these buff unlocks are super speed, super strength, invisibility, immortality, shapeshifting, and more. Each of these always offer a fun way to explore the powers granted throughout an episode with whoever activates it first. Spoiler alert, Shendu does get all of the talismans entered into his statue by the end of the first season, leading to big world-ending stakes as he becomes a full-on dragon again. But of course, there are still 4 other seasons of the show, meaning that there are different conflicts and adventures to go on aside from just this beginning Shendu arc. But to be fair, he's not really going anywhere. Season 2 continues where things had left off as we get into this Demon Portals arc, where we even have this new device, which is called the Penku Box, as it acts as a key to open these demon portals to the Netherworld, where all of these different elemental demons reside and want to enter into the real world to rule it. We also get the introduction of another character that becomes a side villain during this season, but has an expanded role in the next, artist named Daolon Wong. I think the biggest takeaway from this season is seeing the character of Toru switching sides at the end of season 1 and going into season 2, choosing to help Jackie in section 13 as he turns himself in. From this point, Jackie, Jade, Uncle, and section 13 all embrace the big ol' sweetheart that Toru really is. I mean, he becomes such a great asset and character the more we truly get to know him, and it's okay. The bad guys get a replacement for him in Hak Fu. So there's that. That Daolon Wong fella ends up wanting season 3 to feel like season 1, as the goal is the same when it comes to getting the talismans. Only now, it's a race between the good guys and the bad guys to get the matching notable animals that recently inherited the abilities of their ancestors after Jackie tried to destroy the talismans themselves. It instead just released out the powers of each across the globe. If you were tired of traveling the globe so much, get ready to do it some more, as season 4 follows a similar pattern. Only instead of talismans being scattered around the world, it's now these special masks, as they are each able to control a specific tribe of Shadowkhan, as this season focuses more on the lore behind those cool shadow spirit ninjas. Thanks to a summoning spell not going the way it was intended by the villain of the last season, we get introduced to Terakudo, who is the king of the Shadowkhan. He is represented as this mask and wants to get the other masks that are out there, as they are all his fellow generals who control all the different tribes of Shadowkhan. This season does get pretty freaky with the visuals thanks to the masks, but at least it still finds a way to make things a bit different and interesting despite being such a similar concept to the previous seasons. Yeah. Plus, this goes a bit into Japanese folklore thanks to the Oni. It's pretty cool and genuinely interesting stuff to learn about and explore. The 5th and final season of the show focuses on Drago, Shendu's son, who is after the remnants of demonic chi from all those demons that we dealt with in the 2nd season in order to basically do what his dad wanted to do. And
it just turned him into a demon?
Device called the Chi-O-Matic, which is supposed to help detect and collect demonic chi from the sorcerers, all leading to a pretty spectacular 2-part ending to the series in general, giving us a chance to see the growth and maturity that Jade has found throughout the 5 seasons, going from a bit of an unpredictable troublemaker to a true warrior with a lot of wisdom, and not just because she officially is some sort of scout at some point. Some more bad guys become good guys, and we also get some good father and son infighting through Shendu and Drago's relationship. As far as everyone else, everyone gets a place where they belong for a happy and pretty finite ending to the series that feels both satisfying and well earned. What I do love is that all of the main good guys get more and more stuff to do each season, whether it's Jade getting more involved in dangerous situations that prove how tough she is and what powers she herself can wield, or even Uncle, who really can do more than just provide some information on artifacts or spout off one more thing every other sentence, working on chi spells with Toru. It's all really great and comes in handy, especially towards the end of the series. I also love all of the extra supporting characters we get as reoccurring roles within each season, like Viper, who fills the role of someone that Jade looks up to, and for Jackie to knowingly or unknowingly
Jade look like Rihanna
or be flirted on by. But she's in this middle ground of having enough of a moral compass to eventually be doing only good, but also did have a life of crime as being a talented thief. There's El Toro, a masked wrestler who originally is introduced as having the Ox Talisman, along with his fan but later turned apprentice, Paco. And who could forget the most important character of all, Super Moose, a stuffed animal that can be brought to life thanks to the Rat Talisman. In the end, Jackie Chan Adventures wound up becoming pretty successful and mostly well received, as it would be ranked as one of the best kid shows for the network that it was airing on. It would expand beyond the show and into avenues
they
like
seem to get pretty creative with it.
A regular book series, some video games, trading cards, and of course, a toy line, the hopeful bread and butter of any show coming out around this time. When the show started coming together, the only real concept was, hey, what if Jackie Chan had a cartoon about him? There was no tangible plan for what to do or where to go. No plots, no characters, and no setting for the show to take place. Sanders Schwartz wanted this information when Andy Kaplan brought it to him, but that falls into the category of, well, too bad. As Andy said to him, well, you're the head of animation, you figure it out. So figure it out is exactly what he did, minus the slime in Summer Sanders. So where did he start? Well, much like every episode of Pawn Stars, he knows a guy, with that guy being John Rogers, a veteran screenwriter, comedian, and most importantly, a fan of Jackie Chan. John would start leading the direction of what this show could be, bringing on more and more fans of Jackie Chan's work to be a part of the production. It's pretty smart thinking. If you are going to design a cartoon all about Jackie...
That's good marketing and getting people who actually care about the product into it. That's the best thing you could do for a show. or a game or whatever you do, that makes sure the product comes out well.
Jackie Chan and his martial arts bring in the people who truly understand who Jackie Chan is within his body of work. And there was so much to pull from here. They would look back to some of the roles that he has already done in film to begin crafting who this animated version of Jackie is and what he is going to be involved in. It needed to be action-packed, and it needed to have a bit of the classic physical comedy, topped off with a bit of the magical and mythical for good measure. There's just one more thing they needed left to make this all happen, and that's getting Jackie Chan himself involved in the project.
I missed all of these
by Sony Television to make this show a reality, we know that Jackie became involved in some of the pitch meetings with the different networks as he would come around and perform some stunts for them, a way to really wow the crowd of suits that make the decisions. I mean, imagine coming to work one day and you go into your meeting regarding a new animated series and Jackie Chan's there doing backflips and rolling around the place. I'm sure it would be something pretty unforgettable. But as we all know, the show did become a reality, and it lasted for quite some time too, getting to live on for 5 seasons, coming to an end in 2005.
5 seasons is a lot.
Getting a proper end to the series, or at least an ending that felt enough like an ending. At this point, especially as a kid, you were in one of two camps here. Either you did know a bit about Jackie Chan from before the animated series, or Jackie Chan Adventures became your vessel to know about him. I think it's pretty fair to say that for a large age demographic, Jackie Chan Adventures is responsible for many out there learning about him and seeing him then being involved in more and more American-made films. Aside from that aspect of the show, it was also a great vessel as an introduction to Eastern folklore and culture thanks to the contents of the show itself, as well as the live-action segments with Jackie. All of this would provide an invaluable way to expand your worldview and appreciation of other cultures for many who just wouldn't be familiar. Like I mentioned earlier, stuff like this in many shows would pique my curiosity to learn more, and that led to me enjoying more of what shows like this or Yu-Gi-Oh! Had to offer beyond the show itself. Jackie Chan Adventures being able to explore stuff like this allowed an area of mythos often overlooked in the West to be explored and appreciated in ways that only a handful of other shows at the time were, giving viewers a chance to learn about parts of the world that are often either presented with a non-accurate narrative or completely glossed over entirely in media. Jackie Chan Adventures was a fun, immersive, and entertaining show that not only honored Chinese culture, but also let a whole new generation know just how cool Jackie Chan's martial arts and stuntman abilities were, especially at that time. I loved this show growing up. It offered a lot of fun action, some fun characters to follow, and some interesting stories that let us explore and learn about the more mythical side of other parts of the world. Revisiting the series always brings a smile to my face because I remember sitting down in front of the TV and watching the show along with others that would come on around it so vividly. While not being the same type of martial arts, it did help me get an interest in taking karate lessons back then, so that's cool. Honestly, the show still holds up. The action feels like stunts you'd see the real-life Jackie Chan try and pull off in some of his iconic work, so it truly fits right in, and overall, the show is still as cool and funny as I remember it. The dynamic between Jackie and Jade still hits the right amount of comedic, emotional, and butting heads beats to feel authentic. Uncle's "one more thing" line never gets old, and I appreciate how well the show handles evolving some characters throughout the seasons of the show. I think the translation of Jackie's comedy, action, martial arts, and stunt work was done pretty perfectly. The way Jackie moves around the world, navigates fighting, and physically reacts to everything feels so authentic and true to how Jackie would have done so in a live-action.
That's just how the show was back then.
Version of himself really captures the fluidity you believe he has in real life. And even today, it still feels that way when watching Jackie Chan Adventures. In those aspects, along with the interesting adventures we go on, Jackie Chan Adventures is still just as fun to watch today as it was back then. One more thing. Jackie Chan Adventures isn't the only animated experience all about Jackie Chan out there. There is Jackie Chan's Fantasia that was made around the start of the 2010s. It's a Chinese animated series where Jackie Chan deals with the power of special
That's the real size of Jackie Chan.
But to then get your hopes up even more and then crumble them right on down, there was a series that came out in 2017 titled the all-new Jackie Chan Adventures. It sadly bears no relation to the original series and was also dubbed J-Team, which, funny enough, that was the name of an episode in the second season of the original series, and from that point on, especially...
That's what they're doing with the cartoons nowadays. You see how that look? Everything has to be so chibi now. I don't know why they think that makes sense. Why don't just have the old school fashion cartoons? Well, it don't have to be hand drawn, but it don't have to be like that either.
A little group of certain characters within the show would be coming together and known as J-Team. But the New Adventures was a 3D animated show that was aimed at younger audiences within China. So there isn't anything you are really missing by not seeing it or even knowing about it, but it does exist. But you've heard me gush about my thoughts on the show and hopefully learned some fun information about it, so now you tell me. What are your thoughts on Jackie Chan Adventures? Did you enjoy the show growing up or ever go back and give it a revisit? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll be back soon with another video, and hopefully that video isn't this video again, but who knows, there's always next year, am I right? And
am I right?
Until then, later.
Alright, that was Jackie Chan Adventures Remembereth by Jordan Fringe. Alright, I think it's time for me